I am a bitch, apparently. I'll give you context in just a second. So, obviously, this video is going to be a little bit different than my normal content. I want to talk to you all about men's mental health. It is June. I specifically waited till the end of the month to drop this video because a lot of the times at the beginning of the month, everybody's men's mental health, stuff like that, and that's fine. But what ends up happening is towards the end of the month, it kind of peters out and it's not as advertised and or promoted as much. I hate to use those words, but in reality, that's what is necessary, right? So people tend to it just kind of leaves people's minds towards the end of the month. So I wanted to drop this at the end of this month specifically to counter that. Okay, so let's go back to my original statement. I apparently am a bitch because I seek help with my mental health problem. So, for even more context, that is the stigma that men face when we try to discuss our emotions and our mental health, right? Um, and you can see it in everyday phrases like suck it up, man up, just deal with it. This is what it's like to be a man, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that, right? So it's one of those things where um you kind of gotta get around that stigma if you're ever going to get better. And make no mistake, mental health issues are a health issue, right? There's a reason why those two words are included in it because it does affect your overall health. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. I've dealt with PTSD for a very, very long time. It's recently gotten diagnosed officially. Unofficially, all my friends, all my family, they all knew it, right? There are certain signs, and they're kind of in your face and unavoidable to the right people, and even in the general public kind of knows it a lot more now. Um, I sought help. I got help. I am on a medication for it now, which does help. Um, but sometimes that's not always the case, right? Sometimes medication doesn't necessarily fix your problems. And there are still times where I have thoughts that are probably not the best thoughts. Um, but the medication does help mitigate those. Uh, I don't I don't have them as often. They do still happen, but I don't have them as often. However, um, like I said, medication may not be the therapy that you need, or not the therapy, the solution for everybody, and that's perfectly acceptable. No one solution can solve everybody's problems, right? Um, so here's the thing: you have to get help, and then find out because of you getting help, what helps you um alleviate those issues the, the most effective way, right? So for some people it is um THC treatments, some people it's just regular pharmaceutical medication. For some people it's regular therapy sessions, stuff like that, right? You have to find your solution. Now, it's not going to fix your problem, right? Because it's just not. It's not going to go away. Men's mental health is pretty much anybody's mental health, realistically. Um, is a condition, right? But men, the problem that men have, right, is that we tend to hide it more than anybody else, right? And that's the problem, okay? We can't do that. So I'm going to read some stuff out to you, and I want you guys to really pay attention to what I'm saying because I want you to understand the impact that men's mental health has on not just your world, but the overall world, right? So, real quick, suicides in the US among men are the highest in the world. In the world. And that's not going to change. I mean, it should. Don't get me wrong. I want it to change. But I don't see it changing anytime soon. Let's go with that. According to recent statistics, men have significantly higher rate of suicide compared to women. That's statistically proven. Women, I'm not downplaying your mental health issues. I'm not. But statistically, men suffer more. We just aren't as vocal about it, which is the problem. So, for the overall rate, suicide rate among males in the U.S. in 2022, 3 years ago, was approximately 4 times higher than the rate among women. Males account for roughly 75 to 80% of all suicide deaths. 3/4. 3/4 of all suicides are men. In the U.S. in 2022, men aged 75 years and older had the highest rate among all age groups, both male and female, at 43.9 per 100,000 population. Firearms are the leading means for men, accounting for around 60% of instances in 2021. In 23, white males accounted for 68.3 or 0.13% of those incidents. Okay. And like I said, it's not just a US problem. Those are just US statistics, right? It's not just a US problem. Unfortunately, this problem is a global one. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics for every country for several reasons. One being that a lot of countries don't track the rates, but Canada and the UK do. So we're going to use them. Okay. In Canada, men account for 3 out of every 4, just like in the US. Roughly 8 men will do that every day, amounting to 3,000 deaths a year. In England and Wales, it happens to men at a rate 3 times more often than women. Nearly 12 men it happens to every day, or approximately 4,200 each year. Okay? It is the leading cause of death for men under age 50. In Canada, it's the second leading cause of death for men under the age of 50. In the UK, it's the single largest cause of death for men. And in the USA, it's the second most common cause of death for men under the age of 45. It's that big of an issue. Men are much less likely to get help for their mental health. That's statistically proven. According to a meta-analysis looking at 20 studies across North America and Western Europe, 19% of men, fewer than 1 in 5, had contact with mental health professionals in the year leading up to the incident, compared to 35% of women. So in the year prior to that happening, less than 20% of men went to go seek help. According to a 2005 survey of 132,221 Canadians, men were found to be 2.7 times less likely to utilize mental health services than women. In the UK, only 36% of referrals to the UK National Health Service for talk therapy are for men. In the US, in the 1 year prior to the incident, only 35% of men, on average, sought care from a mental health practitioner. A third of them sought help. That's the problem. Is there such a big stigma about getting help that men don't do it because of the because of the 4 words that I said at the beginning of this video. They don't want to be called that. Because to get help basically means that everybody's going to call you a bitch. And I hate it. And you can argue with me if you want. That's fine. But I promise you, that's what happens. And they may not come right out and say, you're a bitch for getting help. But I promise you, that's the thought that gets put across the wavelengths. Okay? I guarantee, been there, done that, had that happen. I started getting therapy, and there were some people that were happy for me. There were. But a majority of people began to look down on me, which I don't care. I'm at the point in my life where I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm here to just focus on me and the people that I care about, and that's it. But to a younger individual, to one who is more susceptible to societal standards, that's a big thing. And that's the problem. Thoughts of the forever sleep are common among men, okay? In 2019, 1.6 million Canadian men over the age of 15, roughly 9% of their male population reported that they have seriously considered it in their lifetime. In the UK, according to a 2014 survey, 5.4% of men over the age of 16 reported having thoughts within the past year. In 2021, 12.3 million adults reported experiencing those thoughts, and male and females were found to have similar rates. The thoughts may be similar, but men tend to follow through a little bit more, which is also another problem. So those thoughts can be very difficult to deal with or understand, right? Sometimes they can be fleeting, but there are the times where they can be stronger. They're stronger urges. They're just the thoughts alone. There's the thoughts that doing that promises relief from the pain that you're currently going through that at the time you think is unbearable. And just the thought of that forever sleep and not having to worry about it anymore, that right there it's a fantasy, right? Because when you do that, your pain doesn't go away. It just transfers to everyone around you. Okay? Intense thoughts of the forever sleep, they tend to occur for only brief periods of time, but when you get caught on their grip, it can feel like you're never gonna get out. You will. I promise you, you will. You will get out. All you have to do is reach out for help. Everybody watching this video knows at least one person, at least one, that they can call, text, message, email, whatever, to reach out to them to try to get help. Okay? And if you don't, you reach out to me. I can't guarantee that I'll answer you because life is life. But if you really feel like you have nowhere else to go, leave a comment down below. I'll help when I can. I'll provide information for you to talk to certain services or whatever. I will help where I can. You just have to reach out. I can't help you if I don't know if you need help. I want you to understand, we think of experiencing those intense thoughts like riding out a storm, right? Even the most powerful of storms don't last forever. They may last a long time, and it may seem like it sucks, but it doesn't ever last forever. So if we can stop ourselves from acting on those thoughts, you'll eventually move toward a less painful and depressed mood. And don't get me wrong, depressed mood is not the goal. The goal is to alleviate the depression. But once the storm is over, then we can clearly seek out other options that we need for improving our lives, right? And that's just how that goes. You have to be able to weather the storm in order to get help once you come through it. And all storms are weatherable. I promise you. So I'm going to give you some tips, right, to guide you through that storm. Number one, reduce exposure to risks and triggers. Okay. First thing we do when we're experiencing those thoughts is we remove ourselves from potentially dangerous areas or situations. That's what we need to do, right? You got to pull yourself away from dangerous situations, right? Like waiting for a train, driving alone, crossing a bridge, being near guns, knives, or medications. This helps to reduce the risk of acting on these thoughts. Now, granted, you can't live your life in a bubble. I understand that. However, when you are experiencing those thoughts, you have to reduce the risk of acting on those thoughts, especially for men. So, with us, our methods are generally almost instantaneous, if not relatively quick, right? Now, with women, and this is statistically proven, you can argue with me all you want, I don't care. The data is there. Women tend to find ways that take longer but are less painful. Men, we don't care about the pain. We've dealt with it our entire lives. What's one last bit of pain before we go, right? It doesn't matter to us. Women will tend to find stuff that is less painful. That also gives them time to reflect and change their mind in the middle of it, should they choose to do so. We don't get that in general, right? For us, ours is instantaneous, which means there's no chance of changing our mind. So the more we can reduce those potential risks and or triggers so that we don't immediately act upon them, the better off we'll be. The second one is you have to slow your breathing. Okay? You have to find yourself a spot, and I'm going to use the term safe space, but it's not going to be in the context that a lot of you are going to take it, right? So we have to find a spot where we can focus on our breathing and our physical reactions and stuff like that in order to be able to overcome these ideations, right? So find yourself a spot and slow your breathing, okay? When you're under stress, your heart rate increases, breathing becomes quick and shallow. By slowing your breathing, you take active control over your heart rate, right? You can reduce it. You can speed it up if you really wanted to, but you shouldn't. You need to focus on reducing your heart rate, okay? And what that'll do is, in essence, it will reverse engineer a sense of calm. When you focus on your heart rate and you force it to slow, your body's going to think you're calm, which is what you want to be, okay? Doing this will also help shift your attention away from those thoughts because you're focusing on something other than them, okay? Do yourself a favor. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale as fully as possible. Do this. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 4 seconds. And hold again for 4 seconds. You do this for as long as it takes. Doesn't matter if it's once or if it's 5 minutes worth of breathing. It doesn't matter. Because the only thing that matters is you focusing on slowing your heart rate and calming your brain. Third, you need to refocus your attention. Okay? Focus on something else. Focus on the present, on taking things one step at a time to get through the moment or the day, instead of being consumed by the worries of the future or the past. The past is done. You can't do anything about it. Only thing you can do is learn from it and move on. The future, forever changing. Again, there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is set yourself up for a better future. Do small things like clean up a room, watch a comforting show, read a book. Read a book and get out of your own brain for a little while and go into a different world. Create some art so you can focus on the canvas and the paint or the pencils or whatever you want to create art with. Do a puzzle so you can focus on the pieces. Just find something that can pull you away from those thoughts and give you a sense of control and relief. To go along with that one is you have to acknowledge but you can't engage, right? Acknowledge that you have those thoughts, but do not engage those thoughts. All right, it sounds like it's simple, but it's a powerful technique that can shut down those thoughts before they spiral into a vicious cycle. And for anybody who has dealt with this, you know the cycle I'm talking about. It's kind of similar to ignoring a bully. The less attention we give them, the less power they have. Okay? Notice the thought. Don't get upset or mad at yourself. That's just going to make it worse, right? So you notice the thought, don't get mad, and accept that or acknowledge that you're having the thought, and then you push it to the side. If it helps you, visualize putting the thought in a box and locking it and throwing it away. By doing that, you essentially tell yourself, I'm thinking about those thoughts. These thoughts are part of depression. I'm not going to engage those thoughts. Instead, I'm going back to what I was doing, and I'm going to ignore those thoughts, okay? Secondary to that third one is use your senses, okay? If the thoughts are super intense and you're not able to get back on track with what you're doing, using your senses can help you refocus. We already talked about that with the breathing, right? Another thing that helps is closing your eyes for a few minutes, then open them again, okay? Imagine trying to write a scene, recreating the environment that you're in. Close your eyes, try to recreate your scene. Describe what you see in as much detail, okay? The colors, the sounds, the textures, everything that's around you. Start with a general overview, and then you add more and more details, okay? It's kind of like creating art. No different than that. You start with your overall picture, and then you add more and more details, okay? The more senses that you use, the more helpful it can be to shift your focus away from those thoughts. Okay? Use all 5 senses if you can. The third thing that goes with that rule is visualizations, okay? Visualization involves trying to imagine things in our mind in a controlled way that help block out those thoughts, okay? Building on the controlled breathing idea, you can start by visualizing dots or numbers as you count breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 stuff like that, right? Or you can visualize your lungs expanding and contracting along with the rise and fall of your chest. Imagine yourself in a safe and calm place, your happy place, right? I know that it's a term that's thrown around a lot, and it's half the time it's thrown around jokingly, but your happy place is a thing. Think about being with someone you love, or turning to, if you are a religious person, you can turn to your faith. You also have grounding, okay? Grounding works by connecting you to your physical environment and reminding us of exactly where we are in the present moment, right? Takes away from our negative thoughts. Grounding is similar to using your senses, but places more focus on our physical sensations and connections to where we are, okay? A simple grounding technique is to focus on parts of your body that are in contact with the floor or the chair or whatever. You feel the weight of your body and notice how the ground supports you. You try to feel rooted to where you are, strong and where you're standing, and take note of the sensations you feel, right? You can also practice this while you're walking by feeling the ground beneath your feet and noticing the textures of the surface, right? Another effective method is to take a brief cold shower or bath, which can help redirect intense thoughts and provide a kind of sensory reset. So take a cold shower and reset your brain, okay? You can also do it with an ice cube in your hand until it melts. It's the contrasting sensation against your body that will help to reset your brain, okay? You can also do muscle relaxations. Often when we feel overwhelmed, we tend to tense up without realizing it. Our shoulders or jaw tighten, clench our fists. Your shoulders are like high up here, and then you focus and you can feel them physically relax, stuff like that, right? It's part of our fight or flight response. It is a literal survival technique. But like controlling our breathing, muscle relaxation will help you take an action and perform that action and have it be able to relax you. While seated or lying down, you start at the top of your body and work your way down. Basically, focusing on each muscle group and relaxing them one by one. If you're paying attention and the muscle isn't reducing the tension, tense the muscle and then relax it. Okay? Tense it for about 10 seconds and then force yourself to relax. You can also try just getting a massage. Like, legitimately, a massage will help. Step number 4, you got to reach out to other people. Okay? You don't have to, and you shouldn't fight these thoughts alone. Ever. In order for people to be able to help you, you have to let them know what's going on. They can't help you if they don't know if you need help. Okay? Others can provide us with empathy, compassion, and support, which are all critical for helping deal with these thoughts, but you have to tell them that you need the help. So do yourself a favor. Talk to someone you trust, a close friend, a loved one. If you're religious, you can do your minister, spiritual leader, whatever. If you want to talk to someone anonymously, we also have a hotline for that. And I beg you to use it. You also need to think about what you need most, okay? Do you need to have someone come and listen? Do you need to get feedback on whether or not the situation is as bad as you think it is, which is causing you to have these thoughts? Do you need help distracting you from your thoughts? Or do you just need to be close to someone that you feel safe with so that they can distract you from having these thoughts? Send out a message. Give whoever you need to a call and ask for help. Okay? There's several ways you could do that, right? You can say, hey, I'm going through a rough time and I could use some support. Can you talk right now? Or, I'm not feeling fully in control of myself. Could you come over and help me get through this rough patch? I would feel safer with someone around. Or, hey, I need help. My mind is basically turning against itself right now, and I need you to pull me out of this cycle. If the people that you reach out to aren't available, there are several different companies and stuff like that you can reach out to. There's crisis support centers, there's crisis hotlines. We have a national hotline. Reach out, y'all. The resources are there. And the final step, the final rule, okay, is you have to remind yourself that you can get through this. You've done it before, you can do it again. One of the hardest parts of managing those thoughts is not having the hope or motivation to employ any of the strategies that I've talked about so far, right? Depression robs you of your hope. We can desperately want to reach out, but feel like it won't help. We feel like it doesn't matter. But in the end, it does matter. You all matter. We all matter. You matter. Okay? Reflect on your reasons to live. Okay? You got to think about the people and the things that are important to you. Okay? Think about how much pain, and this may sound selfish, but if it keeps you around, then I'm okay with that. Think about the pain that you're going to cause other people when you do that. Because like I said earlier, your pain doesn't go away. It just transfers to everybody around you. If you're struggling to find hope, you gotta know, and I want you to really hear me here. You have to understand you are not alone. You are not the first person to go through this. You are not the last person to go through this, okay? You are by far not the only person to go through this. And I know that your struggles may not be my struggles, and my struggles may not be your struggles, but the overall struggle of dealing with depression is still there. It's men's mental health. We have a problem. We don't like to reach out for help. But the thing is we have to do that. And to me, being able to ignore the people who downplay that, the people who basically criticize men who reach out for help, being able to ignore them and still reach out for help, that's a level of strength that those people will never, ever, ever be able to attain. Ever. You can't be strong and let other people dictate what you do. The strong don't get dictated to. The strong decide their own life for themselves. They decide what they're going to do. You have to be stronger than what society thinks of you. Reach out for help. There are resources. There are friends who can help. There are hotlines, all kinds of stuff, man. Nobody is better than the other. Like, everybody excels in their own thing. You have to get that mindset out of your brain. Just because one guy doesn't need help doesn't mean that another guy doesn't, right? If that makes sense. So just because Joe Schmo over here doesn't have any serious life problems, that doesn't mean that Johnny Schmo over here doesn't have any life problems either, because Johnny Schmo and Joe Schmo's lives are not the same life. You can't compare yourself to other people and let them dictate your life. It doesn't work. You can't let those ideations deprive you of your future. Okay? You got to create the space for the possibility of healing and feeling well again. Okay? As someone who has fought this fight for years and years and almost lost several times, I'm here to tell you that you can win. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to lie to you. But it will be worth it. That I can promise you. It'll be worth it. No storm lasts forever. You will have good days. You will have bad days. But waking up every day is what matters. Okay? Keep your head up and keep winning the fight. That's what you have to do. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. I'm going to leave some resources down below for you to use if you need them. There is no shame in asking for help. And anybody who shames you for asking for help is a terrible person. I said what I said. If they don't like it, send them to me. I'll set them straight. I don't care. I'm going to leave you the phone number for the national hotline. In fact, I'm going to put it right here. For those of you who have been fighting this fight, I need you to do me a favor, okay? Leave me a comment down below and tell me your story. I want to show others that they're not alone in this fight, okay? Let them know that they have help. People who understand what they're dealing with. Friends. Okay? I would appreciate that more than anything, okay? You don't have to go into crazy detail. Just something to let others who may currently be struggling and are scared to reach out or on the verge of reaching out but still apprehensive, to let them know that they're not alone. I would really appreciate that. And if no one has told you lately, I want all of you to know that I'm proud of you. I appreciate you. And I love you. Catch you on the flip side.